Ladies and gentlemen, there is a silent epidemic beneath our fast-paced lives, the incessant noise in the mind, the constant anticipation of what might go wrong, and the habit of reaching for a future that never arrives. It is called worry. And today, I invite you to recognize it for what it truly is. A distraction from the richness of the present moment. The invitation is simple. Slow down, breathe, watch, and come home. Again and again, to the only place life ever truly happens, here. At the root of so much human restlessness is a quiet yet relentless pressure to do more, to be more, to have answers, to be ahead, to avoid failure. This pressure is often subtle, unspoken, and assumed to be a normal part of adult life. We rarely pause to question it. It moves with us through every activity like a shadow, and it gives rise to worry. But what if the source of that pressure is not the world outside, but a misalignment within ourselves? And what if freedom from that pressure is not found in fixing our circumstances, but in returning to presence, chaos? There is immense power in understanding the difference between being present and being driven by pressure. Pressure arises from the mind's projection of time. It is always tied to a future that does not yet exist. Deadlines, expectations, imagined failures, imagined judgments. The mind says, I must fix this, or I must get there, or what if I can't? These are not statements of presence. They are statements of tension. They arise from a place of insufficiency, of lack. Presence, on the other hand, is not concerned with future or past. It simply is. It simply is. It is the still, alert awareness in which this moment unfolds. It does not resist what is. It does not rush ahead or linger behind. It is open, curious, and attentive. When you are present, there is no struggle, not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer at war with reality. The transition from pressure to presence begins with a single realization that your thoughts about life are not life itself. Life is not the thought of a meeting tomorrow. It is not the worry about what someone might say. Life is the sound of your breath right now. It is the feeling of your feet on the floor. It is the texture of the air on your skin. It is the living reality of this moment, free from story, free from interpretation. This is not to suggest that practical concerns are unimportant. Life does ask for action. But there is a vast difference between action taken from presence and action taken from pressure. The first is grounded, responsive, intelligent. The second is reactive, anxious, often scattered. When you are present, even the most complex task can be approached with a sense of inner calm. You respond to what is needed, step by step. But when pressure rules you, even simple tasks feel overwhelming because your mind is not here. It is tangled in the web of what could go wrong. One of the great illusions is that worry prepares us. That by thinking about every possible outcome, we're somehow more in control. But the truth is the opposite. Worry fragments attention. It weakens clarity. It adds mental noise to a situation that needs inner stillness. You cannot see clearly when your mind is clouded. Presence is clarity. Presence is where true focus begins. Many people believe that being present means being passive, as if to live in the now is to abandon ambition or progress. But presence is not passivity. It is a deep engagement with reality, free from resistance. It means being so fully in this moment that your actions arise from awareness, not compulsion. It means you write your report, not because of fear, but because the act of writing is what this moment calls for. It means you speak not to impress, but to communicate clearly. Presence allows life to flow through you, rather than being forced through the narrow channel of worry and control. In moments of presence, time itself changes. And then you let go, even if just for a moment. That moment of letting go is presence. And from presence, new clarity arises. It's important to emphasize this is not avoidance. You are not denying that challenges exist. You are not pretending everything is fine when it is not. What you are doing is breaking the automatic cycle of fear. You are refusing to fuel it with unconscious attention. You are choosing to be awake and not to be consumed by mental fiction. There's a deep power in realizing that you do not have to believe every thought that crosses your mind. Just because a thought arises, what if I fail? What if they leave me? What if I'm not good enough? Does not mean it's true. Thoughts are not truth. They are patterns. They are echoes of past fears, memories, conditioning. And worry is simply a cluster of these thoughts, repeating because they've gone unexamined. When you bring awareness to these patterns, something shifts. You begin to see that your thoughts can run, but they don't have to run you. You can watch them, like clouds passing in the sky, and remain still beneath them. This is not detachment in the cold sense. It is inner freedom. It is the recognition that your peace does not depend on everything going right. Your peace depends on where you place your attention. Yeah. Worry asks you to live in a world that does not exist, a future that has not happened, and often that future never arrives in the form we feared. If you look back over your life, how many of the things you worried about actually occurred? And of those that did, how many were you able to meet with strength, wisdom, and resilience when the time came? Probably far more than you gave yourself credit for. Worry underestimates your capacity to handle life. It assumes you won't know what to do. But presence trusts that when a situation arises, the necessary response will arise with it. You don't have to carry every possible outcome in your head. You only have to meet what is here now. Some people ask, but if I stop worrying, won't I be unprepared? This question reveals the mind's attachment to worry as a tool, but you can be aware, prepared, and responsible without indulging in anxious rumination. Preparation involves taking practical steps. Worry involves endless mental rehearsal. One leads to clarity, the other leads to exhaustion. A useful practice is to create a boundary for worry. If you notice your mind spiraling, ask, is there something I can do about this right now? If yes, take action. Make a plan. Have the conversation. Write the email. If no, let it go. For now. Not because it isn't important, but because the mind cannot solve future problems with future thinking. It can only respond with presence when the moment to act arrives. Another way to disengage from worry is to return to the body. The body is always in the present. Worry lives in the mind. So bring your awareness to the breath. Feel your hands. Listen to the sounds around you. These are not distractions. These are anchors, reminders that reality is unfolding now, and you are safe in this moment. Ultimately, worry is a form of resistance, a refusal to accept that we cannot control everything. But peace is found in surrender, not submission, but surrender to what is. It is an inner posture of trust. Trust that you can meet what life brings. Trust that not everything needs to be figured out in advance. Trust that clarity comes not from frantic thinking, but from still awareness. The nature of worry is not strength. It is confusion. It is a looping of the mind that mistakes imagination for reality. But when you begin to see it clearly without judgment, you loosen its hold. You step out of the story, you return to presence, and from presence, real intelligence flows. Like from presence, real focus arises. From presence, the answers you seek often come, not as forced solutions, but as quiet insights. So let the mind think. Let thoughts come and go. But you, the aware presence behind the thoughts, you remain still, you remain awake. You remain here, and here there is no worry, only clarity, only life, only now. In the modern world, multitasking is often praised as a skill. People take pride in juggling multiple responsibilities, managing numerous devices, conversations, deadlines, all at once. The term itself has a productive ring to it, suggesting efficiency, mastery, and control. We imagine that to be constantly busy is to be effective. But if we stop and look more deeply, we begin to see that what we call multitasking is not presence at all. It is fragmentation. Multitasking is not doing many things at once. It is rapidly switching attention between things, again and again, often without full awareness. The mind believes it can divide itself. Write an email while listening to a podcast, reply to a message while attending a meeting, plan dinner while walking with a loved one. But attention, true attention, cannot be divided. It can only be moved. And in that movement, something is lost. Each time attention shifts from one task to another, even briefly, there is a cognitive cost. The mind takes time to reorient itself, to remember context, to find clarity again. This process may be fast, but it is not seamless. It creates micro moments of confusion, tension, and delay. Over time, these moments accumulate. What appears on the surface as productivity often turns out to be scattered energy, rushed decisions, and shallow engagement. This is the myth of multitasking. That more is better, that faster is smarter, that divided attention can lead to wholeness. But real focus, the kind that brings peace and clarity, does not come from doing more. It comes from doing one thing fully. When you are fully present with one task, one person, one moment, a natural intelligence begins to flow. You become more attuned, more capable, more connected. There is no inner friction, no second guessing. Action arises smoothly, thought becomes sharper, and even simple tasks begin to carry a sense of meaning. You are not rushing to finish one thing in order to begin another. You are alive in what is. Now, consider the opposite. When the mind is divided, even subtly, everything begins to feel like a chore. You feel behind even when you're ahead. You may complete the task, but it feels hollow. You may spend hours working, but end the day feeling depleted. This is not because you did too much. It is because you did too little with depth. Multitasking also affects relationships. When you are physically with someone but mentally elsewhere, checking your phone, thinking about work, planning your reply before they finish speaking, the connection suffers. You are not truly listening. You are performing the appearance of attention while being inwardly absent, and people feel this. Presence is felt without needing words. So is absence. This has become so normal that we hardly notice it. We assume that partial attention is enough, but it isn't. It isn't. Whether in communication, work, or creativity, true connection requires presence, and presence means undivided attention, even if only for a few moments. What we gain from this shift is immeasurable. When you stop multitasking, you begin to rediscover your mind's natural rhythm. It slows. It clears. It clears. Goodbye. You notice details you used to overlook. You hear the full meaning in someone's words. You taste your food. You see the sky. And in these moments, which seem small, you find a deep sense of satisfaction. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer split. This is not a call to abandon all responsibility or to retreat from modern life. It is a call to return to simplicity, to reclaim the power of doing one thing at a time. Whether it's brushing your teeth, writing a report, or speaking with a friend, give it your full attention. Give it your full attention. Even for a few minutes. This is not only more effective, it is more human. The resistance to this idea comes from fear. The fear of falling behind, of not doing enough, of missing out. The mind says, if I don't keep up, I'll lose something. But what are we really losing when we multitask? We lose our depth, our joy, our clarity. We lose the ability to be here. The body can only be in one place, but the mind, when unconscious, tries to be in many. And the result is not more aliveness. It is stress, anxiety, burnout. Even the idea that our worth depends on how much we accomplish is part of this illusion. Worth is not measured by speed. Presence is not measured by output. The most impactful people are not those who do the most, but those who do what matters with attention and care. Multitasking creates a kind of internal noise. It drowns out subtle awareness. You might complete your tasks, but you forget why they matter. You forget how you feel. You stop noticing your breath, your posture, your emotions, your intuition. When attention is spread thin, insight cannot arise. The mind becomes cluttered, reactive, mechanical. When attention is gathered, like a focused beam of light, it illuminates everything. Even ordinary tasks can become meditative. Washing dishes becomes an act of care. Writing becomes creative again. Meetings become opportunities for real connection. You begin to operate not from pressure, but from presence. There is a practice you can begin right now. Choose one activity, anything, and do it with full attention. Not perfect attention, not forced attention, just willing attention. Notice when your mind wanders. Gently return. No judgment. Just awareness. This simple practice retrains the mind. It teaches it to stay. And with repetition, it becomes natural again. You may notice discomfort at first. The mind craves stimulation. It wants the next thing and the next. But if you stay with the moment, a quiet opens. In that quiet, you begin to remember what it feels like to be truly engaged, fully awake, at peace. The idea that we must multitask to be relevant is not truth. It is conditioning. It is a story society tells us, reinforced by devices, media, and the pressure of constant connectivity. But stories can be questioned, and habits can be unlearned. Even in a world that demands speed, you can choose slowness, not laziness, not inaction, but deliberate, conscious presence. You can choose to answer one email at a time. You can choose to give your full attention to the person in front of you. You can choose to listen to your own thoughts without distraction. These small choices are revolutionary. They bring coherence where there was chaos. They bring ease where there was stress. They bring depth where there was only surface. It is not always easy, but it is always available. One thing at a time. This is not a limitation. It is liberation. It is how focus is born. It is how peace is restored. So let the mind rest. Let attention be undivided. Let the moment be enough. And in that simplicity, you will find not less, but more. We are often told to aim for perfection. From a young age, we are taught to strive, to polish, to improve ourselves constantly, to perform better, look better, speak better, think better. This pursuit becomes so deeply ingrained that it begins to shape not just our actions, but our sense of identity. We come to believe that unless we are perfect, or at least appear to be, we are not enough. But perfection, as commonly understood, is not real. It is a moving target, an imagined state of flawlessness that no human being has ever truly reached, and yet we exhaust ourselves chasing it. We try to craft the perfect body, the perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect response in every situation. We measure our worth by how closely we align with this idea of perfection. And inevitably, we fall short. And in that falling short, we suffer. What if the goal was never perfection at all? What if the deeper invitation was simply present? Presence is not about flawlessness. It is not about control. It is about being here, fully, honestly, without needing to be anything other than what you are in this moment. Presence does not require you to be ready or impressive or composed. It only asks that you show up, that you see clearly, that you feel fully, that you meet this moment with your full attention, without the mask of performance. When you are present, you are not trying to become anything. You are simply aware of what already is. This awareness holds space for imperfection, for messiness, for uncertainty. It does not resist or deny what is happening. It embraces it. In presence, you find permission to be human. This shift from perfection to presence is radical. It cuts through years of conditioning. It questions the belief that your value is based on achievement. It interrupts the constant narrative in your mind that says, I'll be okay once I fix this, once I get there, once I prove myself. Presence says, you are already okay right now, even as things remain unfinished. This is not complacency. It is not resignation. Presence is not the absence of growth. It is the ground from which real growth begins. When you are present, you are honest. You see your limitations without shame. You see your strengths without arrogance. You see the situation as it is, not as you wish it to be. And from that clear seeing, you respond wisely. Perfection is rooted in fear. The fear of not being enough, the fear of being judged, the fear of failure. It leads to constant self-monitoring, self-correction, and internal pressure. You may get things done, but often at the cost of your peace. You become anxious, reactive, critical, not only of yourself, but of others. Because if you are chasing an impossible standard, you unconsciously expect others to meet it too. Presence, on the other hand, is rooted in acceptance. Not passive acceptance, but open-hearted awareness. And it allows you to meet your experiences with curiosity instead of criticism. Instead of asking, how can I fix this to make it perfect? You ask, what is here now, and how can I respond from this place? This change is especially powerful in moments of difficulty. When something goes wrong, the perfectionist mind panics. It scrambles to fix, to control, to hide. It views mistakes as threats to identity. But the present mind breathes. It pauses. It says, what is? I can work with this. And that calmness brings clarity. That openness allows learning. That patience fosters resilience. One of the most beautiful aspects of presence is that it invites connection. When you let go of the need to be perfect, you become more authentic. And in authenticity, you are more relatable, more approachable, more human. People are not drawn to your perfection. They are drawn to your realness, your willingness to be seen, to be vulnerable, to be in process. Perfection isolates. Presence connects. In relationships, perfection often shows up as performance, trying to say the right thing, look the right way, avoid conflict, protect an image. But presence shows up as listening, as honesty, as the courage to be fully there with another person, even in discomfort, even without a solution. This kind of presence is what nourishes intimacy, trust, and healing. The same applies to creativity. Many people avoid writing, painting, speaking, or starting anything new because they fear it won't be good enough. They wait until they feel ready, polished, certain. That moment never comes, never comes. Perfection blocks creativity. It demands a finished product before the process even begins. But presence frees you. It says, begin where you are. Create with what you have. Let it be imperfect. Let it be true. This is the path of real expression. Not performance for approval, but creation from awareness. You do not need to impress. You only need to express what is real, what is alive in you now. Even in spiritual or personal growth, perfection can become a trap. Mind tries to turn awareness into a technique, presence into a goal, peace into another thing to acquire. It says, I must always be calm, always be wise, always be centered. But that is just another form of control. Taylor. Presence does not demand that you be peaceful. It invites you to be with whatever is here, even if that includes anger, sadness, or fear. To be fully present is to stop running from yourself, to stop trying to polish every moment into something worthy of display, button of display, to stop editing your life like a highlight reel. Real life includes all of it, the sacred and the mundane, the joyful and the painful, the clear and the messy. Presence allows you to meet all of it without turning away. And there is great freedom in this. When you stop trying to be perfect, you become available to life as it is. You notice more, you judge less, you laugh more easily, you rest more deeply, you learn without shame, you love without fear, you no longer need to prove anything. You simply participate in what is real. This does not mean you stop improving, but improvement arises differently. It is not driven by self-rejection, but by self-respect. You grow not to become worthy, but because you already are. You act not to escape yourself, but to express yourself. You seek truth, not perfection. Let us consider something simple. Imagine drinking a cup of tea. In a perfectionist mind, even this can become a task. Is it the right kind of tea? Is it healthy enough? Am I drinking it mindfully enough? But in presence, it is just tea. You feel the warmth in your hands. It tastes the flavor. You breathe. Nothing needs to be different. You are here. This is the heart of presence, full engagement with what is, without the story that something is missing. And so when the pressure of perfection arises, when you feel that you must have it all together, that you cannot make a mistake, that you are not enough as you are, pause, breathe. Return to this moment. Notice the sensation of the body, the rhythm of the breath, the quality of thought. Ask yourself, am I here? Or am I lost in a story? And if you are lost, gently return. You don't need to fix the story. Just notice it. Bring attention back to this moment. The mind will always suggest that something more is needed before you can rest. But the truth is, nothing more is needed to be present. In this presence, life reveals itself, not as perfect, but as whole, not as flawless, but as complete, not always easy, but always enough. Let presence be your teacher. Let awareness be your guide. Let go of perfection, not as a failure, but as an act of wisdom. And in that letting go, you will find not less, but everything. So we return to where we began, with attention. In a world that constantly pulls us in every direction, that tells us we must always do more, be more, have more, we are invited to come back, not to abandon life, but to inhabit it more fully, not to escape responsibility, but to meet it with clarity. To remember that focus is not just a skill, but a state of being, a way of living. You have seen how stillness opens the door to true awareness, how worry dissolves when we stop feeding it with endless thinking, how multitasking, far from making us more capable, only fragments the mind, and how perfection, that ever-chasing ghost, keeps us from the real power of presence. To focus is to honor what is here, to choose depth over distraction, to do one thing in this moment with care. You do not need to master it all at once. You only need to begin. Focus does not come from force. It comes from allowing the mind to rest, the moment to be enough, and your attention to return home again and again. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, scattered, lost in thought, or pulled toward everything but the now, pause, breathe, look, listen, and ask what truly matters in this moment. Let that question guide you back to stillness. Let stillness reveal your clarity. This is not a technique to add to your list. It is a way to live. And in choosing it, you stop worrying about everything else because you realize finally that right here is enough. Thank you.